with Famous People. I am the host of Talking with Famous People, host Zachary. We have our host Eric, and we have our famous person Alex, and we have in the chat, or on the mic, we have famous person Lorenz, famous person Lindy or Het. Um, I don't know if we have a couple people in the chat, Metasoap and Eric. Patrick's in the chat, I think. I don't know if he's here, and then Faith. Uh, but we're going to talk about
Any
nihilism.
non camera chat people are encouraged to camera up if they feel like it.
hmm Um, I suppose we're going to talk about nihilism in general. So, should we give a brief summary of what nihilism is?
Life's shitty, nothing matters.
That's one way to put it, yeah. Um,
Just
so,
meh.
go on.
Or I was just saying the three-letter definition. Meh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
meh.
That, like indifference.
Yeah, I think it makes the claim that there's no there can be no
There's,
purpose derived from the external world, right?
yeah, there's no objective purpose derived from the external world.
hmm
So there's no reason to prefer anything over any other except for individual whim and personal gratification or something.
Yeah.
Everything is numb. I'm still in the bathroom. This probably isn't healthy. If everything is numb and you're in the bathroom, it's not healthy. Even if you're not in the bathroom, if you're in the kitchen, that's still not healthy. I can assure you of that. All right, I'm sorry to interrupt.
So,
Okay, I'm shutting up.
let's do it this way. Let's approach it this way. Are people naturally inclined toward nihilism? And if they are, or when one enters into a state of nihilism, how should one escape it? How should one approach escaping it?
I don't think every person is. I think again, it has to do with type. Some people are more inclined to different beliefs.
Hmm. What do you think, Eric? What do you think, Het?
Um, I think it's pretty freaking sad. Like, I don't know, that to me seems like you've given up on life. Like, there's no purpose for anything. It's just all pointless anyway. Like, that's a freaking black hole to be in.
Well, I think go on.
You go.
Well, I don't think the idea is necessarily that there is no purpose, therefore I shouldn't do anything. I think it's more of like there's no objective purpose, therefore one should manifest their own purpose by looking toward the things in life that are significant to them, such as their relationships with others, such as altruistic behavior towards others, things that overall maximize the good for. I mean, it's contextual purpose, right? It's contextual purpose. Purpose is contextualized toward your specific role in your environment and your society. So I think to twist it that way and give it like a lighter light, I think the proponents of people who ascribe toward nihilism, I think would agree with those sentiments.
Isn't that more absurdism though?
Well,
Well, absurdism proposes like a few things, such as like there's there's three ways to deal with nihilism, or is it three? Or basically the what absurdism proposes is that uh, there are a few ways you can approach it, right? You can approach it by saying or by ascribing to a religious view, right? That's one of the ways to deal with the absurd. And the absurd in this regard would be the inherent absurdity to continue to live once you realize that there isn't an objective purpose. There is ascribing to a religious view. There is ascribing to the absurd, which would be what are
Isn't
the
that rebelling against the absurd and creating your own subjective purpose?
yeah. That's
I think the underlying question needs to be asked first and foremost is what gives you pleasure? That question should precede the question of nihilism or absurdism, because if you're positioning a position on the world that is as wholly self-serving as either of those, in other words, they're not really normative positions. They don't prescribe any moral course of action for anybody else. They're not descriptive positions in any meaningful sense that others would agree with the description. They position themselves as descriptive positions, that these are the only things that one can do in the following circumstances, and that therefore is what one ought to do, I guess. But they necessarily don't prescribe any ought, or else they're not nihilistic. And so I think they run afoul, like skepticism does, of their own argumentations. And when they don't, they become entirely subjectivist expressions of bitterness, basically. So the question I would ask is, number one, what gives you pleasure? To the nihilist, I would turn the conversation about him personally, turn it to an individual human being, because ultimately I think most expressions of nihilism as political or as a metaphysical philosophy are really expressions of an individual's feeling of a lack of being used to their potential, which I think is something that people need to feel, especially NTPs.
You think it's something they need to feel?
Yeah, used to their potential, absolutely.
Oh, I thought you said like you feel, or I thought it was the other way around. Like,
Used to their potential. See, ENTPs need to feel used to their potential. INTPs may need to feel as though they are living up to their potential. I don't know if that's the case or not exactly. They might feel something different. ENTPs really do feel like we need to be used to our potential by others. And it's a very hard position to figure out. You have to be old before you go, oh, that's totally fucked up. Okay, now I'm going to figure out how to do that in some sort of manageable way.
any thoughts on this, Alex?
I'm still chewing on the start of it being about identifying or addressing nihilism through what do you find pleasure in, and I'm having a hard time getting over that one because I don't know that those two things are necessarily
Yeah, I feel the same way.
connected.
So do I, because I don't think that's or what gives you pleasure. I don't know if it's necessarily.
That's like
important.
hedonism, right? That's
Yeah.
No, but see, you guys are stopping after the first step. The next step is, it's drugs. Okay, so should that be what you pursue? And then you force the nihilist to answer the question of, is there nihilism distinct from hedonism? And if so, how and why? But if they say nothing gives me pleasure, then you know it's not a metaphysical position, it's an expression of individual depression.
I don't think that's true. Like the the nihilist would respond that nihilism doesn't propose that you follow what's most pleasurable. That would be hedonism. Nihilism.
Okay, well, I asked you a question, what gives you pleasure? And then you have to think about what the follow-up question is. Whatever the answer to that is,
Well, a lot of
if
things
it-
give people pleasure. I mean,
okay,
Just
so it's
because
food.
of biological or systems and things.
Okay, but so let's walk through it. You guys be the nihilist, I'll be the Eric.
okay.
All right. So, what gives you pleasure, nihilists?
Okay.
Bonds with family members, bonds with friends.
Okay,
Sensual
so then how
pleasure,
can you
like such
maintain
as
then,
food,
given the
sex.
fact that you can establish positive outcomes for yourself, correlating strongly to certain behaviors or activities, then why would you not ascertain some purpose from that? Why is it that we necessarily don't ascertain a purpose from that? And more importantly,
Well, it's not saying there's no purpose to behavior. It's saying there's no purpose to existence.
Yeah, that's where I'm jumping in. I agree with Zach on that one. Where I'm thinking of the pleasure of it doesn't really matter.
my
And
point is you're behaving as though there is a purpose to existence.
I don't think that's
I-
the case though, because you're inclined to experience pleasure anyways. Like if it's a food, you get pleasure from it, but it's because you're satisfying.
But it's
A
not about
biological
the
need.
pleasure, it's about the statements you're making about the pleasure.
What do you go on?
Right? The fact that you are making statements that are purposeful in nature, trying to express that the nature of things is this way and not some other way, it implies, to some extent, sufficient purpose, or at least an ability to align with the nature of things and an ability to align with something other than the nature of things. Right? If the nature of things is truly purposelessness, then isn't purposelessness our purpose?
I think purposelessness is our purpose.
But then you destroy the meaning of both words.
No, and because I see it as two different things. I see it as existence as a whole, external to me, needn't have any purpose. But my individual, I make choices, and whether or not I state as a purpose, those choices result in an end result. And so at the end of the day, I'm living some direction. Which
if the external world were to have a purpose, what would that look like?
That's a good question. I couldn't define that, therefore I can't define the other either.
All right, well, you're the extrovert here, Eric. You actualize yourself in the external world. Tell us what it looks like.
I did what in the external world? Oh, actually, I myself in the external world, right. That's what I'm supposed to do as an ENTP. I forget my own models all the time. They're not mine, of course. I just grab them wherever I happen upon them. So anyway, what was the question again?
Okay, if you actualize yourself in the external world, what does purpose in the external world look like to you?
Well, that's the thing. I think purpose is an expression of living. I think you can live purposefully or you can live non-purposefully. The fact that you want to make this distinction between, well, my purpose is distinct from some sort of grand external purpose says to me only a hunger for a grand external purpose. It doesn't say anything beyond that to me.
Well, I think it's descriptively true though. I mean, there's no purpose is by nature metaphysical. I mean,
Okay, but if you're talking about a grand external purpose and being the absence of one, then aren't you really talking about a lack? That which is not there, but could be there for sure, right?
Continue your argument chain as if I said yes.
Okay, well, if it could be, I love that answer. If it could be there, then we have to be able to imagine some manifestation of what that would look like. And if we can't imagine any manifestation of what that would look like, then it's hard to say that it could be there, right? For it to potentially be there implies that it's been observed, it's just not there right now.
I go back and say no. I don't think that there necessarily should be a purpose, or that there is a. I don't think there's a lack of. I just think that it doesn't. In nature, there doesn't exist the concept of purpose. It just doesn't.
So is your argument is your argument simply this, that purpose as we understand it as individuals as having intent motivated by individual interests is not something that reality itself manifests? If so, I don't understand why that's a meaningful statement.
Well, I have a question.
Okay, go on.
With what y'all are saying, yeah, let me see how to phrase this. Okay, so your question is like, y'all talking about purpose right now, but if just talking about in nature, if just surviving is a purpose, then...
A first world problem for sure, right? Nihilism is a first world fucking problem.
Yeah, like... But no, if you just take it to like an animal, like the perspective of just like an animal, like animals have to survive. Like they don't think about, the next day or like building a life or what their impact on the future or on anything is going to be. Like they don't think about their purpose. Their purpose today is to find food, to do what they have to do to make it to the next day.
I think
it's important to distinguish. Yeah, I think it's important to say that just because someone has, or just because we've developed metacognition as entities, doesn't necessarily imply that there was a purpose to us developing it. It could just be an accidental thing that happened.
But the distinction I want to make is this: that distinction between expressing purpose as an agent versus something having a purpose, which is a grammatical construction we're using here that's confusing the issue. I think. We tend to think of things having a purpose if we think of them existing for the intent use a certain way. Like we think of a hammer as having this has a purpose, right? The purpose of this is not to mix milkshakes with, although you could use it for that, right? I could go and mix it around. That's not the purpose of it. So in that instance, what we're talking about is somebody else made this and intended it to be useful for in a certain so that I would buy it. And they guessed right. That is, in fact, how I use it. I use it to light things on fire, not to stir milkshakes. If I bought it to stir milkshakes, it wouldn't matter to them. This thing doesn't have a purpose. They have a purpose. I have a purpose when I use it. This thing doesn't have a purpose. It just has a likely intended use. And this is the mistake we're making. We're talking about existence necessarily, whether it matters whether existence has a purpose or not. It depends what we mean by purpose. If we mean, like, the purpose of this is to light things on fire, no, it doesn't have a purpose. In the same sense, this doesn't have a purpose either.
What? I don't.
So you pretty
That
much
doesn't make
eliminated
sense.
purpose as a thing in general.
No, I didn't. Purpose is an action done by agency.
Well, okay,
It's
well, okay.
intent.
Well,
It
that's the
covers-
thing. Well, okay, so it sounds like what you're saying is that purpose is only significant insofar as it's defined by the individuals or the sentient beings which are actualizing it, right? So its purpose
Or
is something that's...
the agent in general. Agent can be group agents. There can be group agents.
So you agree that the external world has no innate purpose to it then?
I'm saying the question is silly in the same way. If I use this exclusively to stir milkshakes, have I violated its innate purpose?
I mean, by your logic, then it would be up to the subjective agent whether or not you've utilized its purpose properly.
Well, what other way can we possibly mean purpose except I intend it for this reason, or you intend it for that reason, or somebody else does?
So purpose is directly connected to utility?
But I can use it for multiple different things. I can scratch my butt with it. It could be my butt scratcher. It's perfect. It got a little
So
curve.
all you've established is that an external object that you're holding has no purpose.
No, it has a purpose. It has a purpose of lighting this fucking cigarette because that's what I'm going to use.
So its purpose is utility.
No, its purpose is what I'm using it for.
It's utility.
Well, that implies that utility exists beyond my using it.
How TE of you, Eric?
No, it's more TI. I'm out TIing. I'm TIing all the way down into TE.
So basically, if a tree falls in the woods, it doesn't make a noise.
Right. Well, if I'm
This is what
around
I'm-
preserve it, right, yeah.
Like,
But also, if I use this to stir a milkshake all the time, it's a milkshake stirrer.
I don't think
Hey,
things.
does
I don't
it-
think
does
things
it
are
become
defined
one?
by their utility. I think you just answered my. Oh my God, that's the answer to my metaphysics theory. Things aren't defined by their utility. Things aren't defined by external impressions. Oh my God, that just hit me.
No, things are defined by your intention.
No, I disagree. I think things are defined in their essence, which is important to
You
distinguish
keep
from
coming
utility.
back. What you don't know what essence means. You can't tell me what it means.
I'll address that later. I'll address that later.
Okay, address that later.
Okay, back to the nihilism thing. Okay, so let me get this straight. You're saying that because the purpose can only be defined insofar as what we choose to give to things, that how we utilize them, something like that.
Well, I'm saying that purpose is something that is unique to an agent and to agency. To think of it as existing inside of objects is ridiculous.
So the external world
systems.
has no objective purpose.
It's saying. So you're saying that banana's not an atheist, Eric. I'm saying bananas can't be atheists.
It just sounds like to me you agree with everything nihilism is about.
No, I reject it entirely.
What do you guys think, Lorenz and Alex?
I'm still laughing over the atheist banana because
That's not mine, by the way. I grabbed that from someplace. I don't know. Like most things I say, I grab from some.
that was
I
pretty
just
good.
say that right off the bat. I have no idea where I got it from, though.
I get caught up in a loop thinking, well, agency presupposes something creating the purpose for the thing that it created, and then It ends up I end up in a divide by zero loop mentally when I think about it. And
Right. If you
I've always, just quite frankly, considered the question about nihilism irrelevant. I see myself as an individual doing what I do, and all other individuals doing what they do. Who gives a shit, really, if there's a bigger picture behind what they're supposed to be doing? I don't care. And I would hope that people wouldn't care what I'm doing as long as it doesn't harm them, you know?
Yeah, but then why do anything?
Because I want to.
Well, yeah, that's a good reason.
because there's no alternative.
Besides death.
Oh, well, okay, but that's doing something. That's doing your final thing. That's a really, really bad idea. It's the worst idea in all of history. It is.
What practical use is there for, like, this ideology or whatever? I don't know what
That's the
you
thing.
even call it.
It's not practical.
It's like an observation.
There's no.
It gives people a
It's just-
reason to dress up like goths.
Who would do that?
Well,
I mean, this is just my thought on it. This is like what host Eric said about it being a first world problem. Like, no one other than privileged people who have nothing better to think about than the meaning of life are thinking about it not having a meaning or a purpose, because
well,
other people are
fall on
doing-
hard times.
I think that's because there's more external pressures that are working against people, so then that they don't have maybe.
well,
people do fall
because
on
then
hard
they,
times.
I feel like I think that nihilism comes from a sense that you have nothing to work towards, or there's
Nothing's worth working towards.
yeah, well, okay, so if you're in like if you're in a situation to where you're having to work to survive, then you're not, or like just constantly having to move forward just to make it. You're not thinking about necessarily like what it's all for. You're just thinking about what you need to do next and to
That's why
maintain.
That's why he's saying that.
Yeah, you're
It's,
forced into action because you need to meet your physical needs.
Go on. You're halfway there. That's my next comment too.
Okay, I don't know. You go then.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was trying to encourage you. My bad. Yeah, those are totally different things. External pressure, an immediate external pressure to have needs met by, like, bullets are flying. I got to get scrambled to hoard food, gather food for the family and stuff. That's going to prompt action in a much more significant way than long-term existential dismay, you might call it, or existential malaise. Long-term existential malaise is something where somebody's life is not what they want it to be, and yet they don't feel as though there's a clear pathway forward. And that is a damning state to be in. I've been in it myself. But I will tell everybody it passes for sure, and it's a matter of loosening up on fears. We're all constrained by fear. This is my theory, of course. I hate giving advice because it makes me sound like an asshole. But we're all constrained by fears all the time. And as we break down those fears, shit just starts happening around you.
so, how should one escape nihilism then? Let's legitimize nihilism as a state of being as opposed to a philosophy then, just for this sake of argumentation, right?
Okay?
How should one escape it?
Yeah, how do you combat it? How do you escape it?
I say forgive yourself as many failures as you possibly can. Play in different ways, like play exactly what you want to play. Spend as much time as you want playing video games, but not quite, just slightly less than as much time as you want, and do like something else. It's a different kind of play that has slightly more durability. Think about play in terms of how you can play in ways that create time objects of some sort, be it text or images or something. Because those markers of identity that you turn into time objects
What do you mean by time
have
objects?
lasting value. I mean, any kind of media or any kind of like you have some ideas, you're thinking about some model thing, write it down. Even if you don't tell yourself, I'm going to start working on a book on blah. You have some idea about some little teeny subsection of blah, write that shit down. You're not required to come back to it and complete it. If you don't require that of yourself and don't expect it of yourself and don't condemn yourself for failing to do so, then it might be fun and maybe you're going to actually come back to it. And if you don't, that's fine. It still sits there 5 years from now. Don't throw away your time objects, whatever they are. They're critical to your identity build, and they have lasting value. As we move forward in human history, the value of each person's identity and the ability that each person to turn his or her time, directly into commodifiable time objects is going to be a huge part of the whole economy. Everyone's identity and life experience has value because it's a referenceable time object. It makes information more fluid and conveys more ideas to more people, so therefore it has monetary value as well.
At the moment, I am completely. I've got to work on my ontology, my metaphysics shit. What is it? What is the essence of something? I got to answer that question. That's like, I feel like I have it, but I can't articulate it yet. That's like, it makes sense. There's something. Never mind.
It's about 10% poop. You should be aware of that.
It's
a
what?
little smelly.
It's a little
Essence.
smelly.
Yeah, it's about 10% poop, feces.
You're talking about how to get out of that state, having been there and that woe is the world stuff. Moving yourself from one situation to another, something that's completely alien to you, will work. It's because I think it's because of that animalistic, whatever, instinctual thing that when you move to an area where you're uncomfortable, you're worried about survival first, even though that's over dramaticism. It's not really survival, but how do I eat? Where do I live? Who do I talk to? How do I get from point A to point B? That you're not caught up in those existential, what is the meaning of life? Because you're worried about getting through the day for a little while, and your mind will heal itself, or at least I think so, as far as giving yourself purpose and what you want to do in life.
Couldn't you just argue that while you're occupied with external influences, that you're just deluded from your reality?
Absolutely, but I think sometimes that's a beneficial thing if it breaks an internal loop in your thinking, and that if you're so caught up in a circle of a situation it takes a little bit of delusion to break you away from that before you can come back to normalcy. Rock on, man.
So this idea, I think it's funny that like y'all are basically saying like this idea of like this nihilistic ideal is reality, when in fact, you know, if you would have to have a delusion to break it. But like, that was hilarious to me, because I feel like nihilism is the biggest, gigantic, most like, I'm gonna sit here and throw a pity party because I do not like have a purpose, and there's no purpose to life because I'm sitting here and I'm bored and I don't have anything to do, and that's exactly what it sounds like to me. But
look, the thing is, we can't necessarily identify with type of suffering. Well,
I just find it entirely, completely self-absorbed.
Why should we invalidate kinds of suffering that have less concrete world causes? Because just because people experience things, like I experience periodically existential terror, right? Which is different than what Lorenz is talking about. My experience is basically about the passage of time, the people around me changing, my parents getting older, stuff like that. You'd probably be less quick to invalidate that, but why?
I'm not, like, I think it's just a selfish mentality to...
Is mine too?
I mean, what's the root fear?
Loss, I guess. Loss of the way things were, loss of opportunity, loss of potentiality.
Okay, so what? Loss of
time.
comfort, or loss of well, like comfort in the sense of things being normal of a
Things being
sense.
static. Comfort or a sense of stasis, you know?
Yeah, like so it. I mean, I'm not trying to invalidate your feelings or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, it is a selfish mentality because it revolves around you. I mean,
Okay, so is it wrong because it's selfish? Is it less because it's selfish?
I mean,
Okay. How is it selfish?
well, the way that it makes me think it's selfish is because it's self-centered. Okay, maybe not selfish, but self-centered. Like, you're not. It's centered on your perspective. It's centered on. It's completely centered on you. Like, it's not. It's centered on how you feel about these external things that are changing. Like,
Right.
you know,
Well, it is centered around that. Now, I do also experience, but I'm not talking about that aspect of my experience right now. I'm talking about an aspect of my experience called existential terror, which is driven around, which is around the fact that things around me, people around me, are changing. That it's a disruption of my illusion of stasis. At any given moment, we're all sort of operating the illusion that things are as they are now, and they're going to basically remain that way for a while, for the foreseeable future. But you know, as you gain distance as time passes, and you see your daughter 17, you realize, oh, I spent a certain number of those years drunk, and I lost some of that time. I just don't remember it, and I feel a certain existential terror about that. That's different than just regret. It's a sense of time lost and finite amount of time left to experience these relationships, take advantage of potentialities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people would say, if you were going to make your argument regarding the existential malaise, that most people would say that my existential terror is more valid. I find it interesting that you don't make that claim. Which I think is a smarter debate strategy for you not to make that claim. You instead make the claim that they're both equally invalid. And then you say, well, I don't want to invalidate your feelings. I don't care if you invalidate the fuck out of my feelings. I don't give a fuck. Go ahead, invalidate away. I'm saying I don't think you have a good reason to prefer the validity of some other mechanism.
Well, I'm not saying there's a preference. I'm just saying what it is.
You're saying you have no preference? You're expressing no preference, that one's not better than the other, one's not more right or wrong than the other one? Are you saying that to me now?
I mean, I think that I feel like it's unnecessary because it's just centered around yourself.
I
And
don't think it is centered around yourself. I think it's unnecessary to. I think it's unnecessary to live an experience in general.
If it were necessary, we wouldn't be having this discussion. It wouldn't be.
You hold on. Did I just hear it's unnecessary to live an experience? I'm still stuck on that one. Well,
you could kill yourself at this point. You could kill yourself. It is unnecessary to live. You could kill yourself. But that's a terrible, terrible option. And you fuck up everybody else's life too around you.
Okay, like that is.
Think about it.
That's a cop out.
Yeah, but that's not what the fuck we're talking about. God damn it! The point is, why is it necessary? Why is it necessary? Why does the necessariness matter? If it were necessary, it'd be like breathing. We wouldn't be talking about it.
But that's kind of my point. It's like, why are you talking about it? Because it's unnecessary.
Because it's interesting.
Is it interesting, or are you just thinking like this is you're using so much energy to literally think yourself in circles?
You just shifted ground. God damn it! We're not talking about whether that's unnecessary. We're not talking about whether the conversation's unnecessary. We're talking about whether nihilism is unnecessary.
It's all unnecessary. Like what?
That sounds very nihilist. How nihilist of you?
How you went nihilism on? That's necessary.
That's exactly
now,
what
we're going to
saying.
resolve this fucking point. Answering that question is absolutely necessary.
What question?
Right. What a mess. Who's flowing this round anyway?
What? Okay, so what are we addressing? What's the answer? What's the
Let's
question
clear
here?
some things up
I don't
here.
know, but that was entertainment.
I think we decided that nihilism is
It's a pity party.
How is it a pity party?
Because it is a self-indulgent pity party for the quote-unquote superior, intellectually
Aaron's
superior.
doing crazy.
you cannot go back to that without addressing my points.
What's your
You're like, oh, I'm gonna
point?
shift ground around. I'm gonna play dance.
No. Seriously,
ground.
what's your point?
My point is, you have made this claim that that type of suffering is somehow invalid. I have pointed out that mine is equivalent on all vectors, and have asked you to say which is more valid or which is less valid. You've not answered that question. Then
Okay.
additionally, you've said I don't want to invalidate your feelings. I don't give a fuck about that. And then additionally, and now you come back to it, which is these feelings are valid, without ever answering my goddamn point.
Okay, well let me answer the point.
What criterion do you evaluate these sort of things?
Okay, well then let me validate your point. I'm sorry. I got distracted.
I don't want you to validate my point. I want you to answer my question.
Well, that's what I meant. Okay, well let me answer the question. I got distracted, okay? I'm ADD. I'm sorry.
I am too. It's okay.
So it's not that it's personally, okay, I guess from a subjective standpoint, from my personal opinion, the selfishness of it's just, if it's selfish, then you're not taking into account a whole lot of other things. And it's just like this one teeny tiny little speck, and you're kind of revolving the entire world around a speck. Like, the world doesn't go around the sun anymore, the world goes around you. And I think
I
that's
don't
just
see
kind
how
of...
that is the case.
No, I don't think that's
Would
the
you
case
make
either.
all your decisions based on that assumption? It's not like,
Yeah, that's
are you
the case.
here? Are you here tonight for us, Het? Is that why you're here to help
What are
us
you talking
understand things?
about?
I mean, the point is you're here because you're being entertained for your own reasons, right? Most every action we take is for our own reasons. There might occasionally be some sort of states of being that we take that are purely altruistic, that are there to help other people. But I don't understand how somebody. First of all, people don't choose suffering. Like, you know what I'm going to do today? I am so tired of being happy and productive. I am such a selfish asshole. I'm going to indulge in some existential malaise. I'm going to get nothing done. I'm going to feel bad about myself, and I can conclude that existence has no purpose. That's
Well-
my plan for this Tuesday.
Well, I think there is a point where it does become a decision, because you're like, oh, I don't feel so great, and then you have this weird thought, and oh, let me sit here and think about this weird thing, and go through this whole existential crisis or
I'm
malay
gonna
or whatever
hit to the core
words
of
that
this.
you use. I don't even know.
I'm gonna hit
It's just funny.
the jugular to this right now. I think the reason you hold these views is because you're running it through your own perceived worldview, which is Christian, right?
Am I?
I
I
want
think
to
so.
I want to offer a distinction here, which is maybe will be a compromise. We'll hopefully maybe avoid some jugularness, which is I think we can agree that individuals ought to hold, in an ideal normative sense, themselves accountable to solve problems within their own lives. I think we should also acknowledge that those solvency mechanisms can be very diffuse and can take a long time and can evolve and manifest in all sorts of different ways. One of those can be exploring nihilism as a potential life philosophy, challenging it, bringing it up for discourse, discussing it, talking about how life manifests, stuff like that, can be a mechanism of solvency for that thing itself, okay? So I think the thing is, we can agree that it's not an ideal state to be in and we can also agree that individuals have some sort of accountability to take action while simultaneously not invalidating the legitimacy of the suffering of the existent state, right?
Well, that
She
second,
can- she-
the second claim there about they should be held accountable to make some sort of action. I don't know if we all agree on that.
Well, I think if you are complaining about a persistent chronic problem, I think that at a certain point, attempting possible solutions is a requirement. It doesn't matter what they are.
That's facts, not an evidence. And nihilists don't necessarily need to go tell somebody else that they hate life. That might just be their own internal without actually expressing that.
Okay, well then there's no need for accountability in that context. It depends on whether it's involves third parties or not.
Yeah, I would agree if they complain to third parties, and I would agree that they have bear some responsibility for taking action at that point.
But
I
I
think
think
that
I would also stress though that is in my mind sort of the wrong perspective. I would say that we need to understand also that in choosing to engage in that fashion about the subject is itself a form of action taking, and
well,
that engagement can change and evolve perspectives in a positive way.
I think that it's important to distinguish that the school of nihilism doesn't necessarily is not necessarily causal toward like depression, right? I think that a lot of people who are depressed ascribe to nihilism, but I don't think that nihilism inherently causes depression, right? So I think that attacking like how Het said that it sounds like well Het was arguing
Maybe it's
against
sad, and then they like just get this idea, and then they start thinking about it. That's what she had said, right?
yeah something like that. So I think that's important to take into account. Now the actual school of nihilism. Okay, well one thing I will say though, if anyone's watching is like depressed or feeling sad, I find reading nihilism is very therapeutic when you go through times like that. You should read some nihilistic philosophers. Look up Albert Camus. Good shit. But
And you can
yeah.
also join us on Talking with Bad People
Oh yeah.
Talk conversation.
That
I probably won't notice that you're depressed, and I'll just start yammering at you. It might cheer you up. You never know.
It'll make you feel things again. uh, all right, let's wrap this up. It's going on for 42 minutes. That was really fun. Thanks for all your
That
like
was a fun
views.
one. I enjoyed that.